In the far future, humanity had spread across hundreds of star systems. Colonies floated under strange suns and great cities hung between the stars. Yet even in this age of logic and science, there were still stories, tales told in quiet bars and lonely spaceports, passed from one traveler to another. Among these stories, none was more famous than the one about the Aegis, a ship that was said to have been built during the last days of the Solar Wars. According to the legends, it was not just another warship but a fortress of light, a vessel so powerful that it could face an entire fleet alone. But after the final battle, it had vanished. Some said it was destroyed. Others whispered it had gone into hiding, waiting for the day humanity needed it again. Most people laughed when they heard about it. After all, no one had ever seen such a ship. There were no records in the human archives, no coordinates, no proof. It was just a myth, a story told to give people hope during dark times. But Captain Rhea Morgan never laughed when she heard it. Rhea was a disciplined officer of the exploration ship Endeavour. She was known for her calm nature and sharp decisions. She didn't believe in myths, but something about the story of the Aegis always stayed with her. The idea that somewhere out there, a ship might still be waiting to defend humanity. It was just a thought, a quiet dream she never shared with her crew. Until one quiet day, that dream started to become real. The Endeavour was patrolling the edge of the Cygnus Expanse, a sector known for its dead systems. Stars long gone cold, planets drifting in darkness and no sign of life. Rhea's crew was scanning for rare minerals, a routine mission that had already lasted 2 months. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Lieutenant Jonas Park, the communications officer, leaned over his console and frowned. "Captain," he said, "I'm picking up something strange on long-range sensors." Rhea looked up from her datapad. "Strange how?" "It's a signal, ma'am. Very weak, very old, but the frequency—" He paused, eyes widening. "It matches an unregistered human code, one that hasn't been used for over 2 centuries. That made Rhea stand. "Put it on screen." The view shifted, showing a faint transmission repeating every 30 seconds. It was nothing more than a short burst of data, nearly lost in the static. But as the computer began decoding it, a pattern appeared. A simple set of words in Old Terran Standard. "Aegis protocol active. Awaiting command." The bridge fell silent. For a moment, no one spoke. Rhea's heart began to pound. It couldn't be. It had to be a joke, a data ghost, or a glitch. "Can you trace the source?" she asked. Jonas nodded slowly.
"Yes, Captain."
"It's coming from the Epsilon 9 system, about 3 light years from here." Rhea hesitated only for a second before making her decision. "Set course for Epsilon 9, maximum speed." Her first officer, Commander Talia Voss, gave her a doubtful look. "Captain, that sector's completely dead. No colonies, no stations. Are you sure this is worth it?" Rhea met her gaze calmly. "If that signal is real, then it's the most important discovery in 200 years. Let's find out." The journey took less than a day. The Endeavour dropped out of hyperspace near a small dying star. The system was quiet. No planets with life, no traffic, no movement. Only the endless black. Then, as their scanners swept the area, Jonas gasped. "Captain, I think I found it." The image appeared on the main screen. A massive object floated near the far edge of the system, half hidden within a field of asteroids. It was dark, lifeless, but its shape was unmistakably human. The ship was enormous, longer than any modern battleship, its design sleek and strange. It looked ancient yet untouched by time. Rhea stared at it in silence. Every detail of the myth she'd heard as a child came rushing back. The ship of light, the hidden guardian, the Aegis. "Is there any power?" she asked quietly. Jonas shook his head. "Minimal. A few energy readings, but no active systems. It looks dormant." Talia folded her arms. "Captain, this could be a trap. The Dravik raiders use fake distress signals all the time." Rhea nodded. "Maybe, but if this ship really is what the signal says it is, we can't ignore it. Prepare a boarding team." The docking procedure took hours. The Aegis's hull was covered with strange metal that resisted scanners. When the airlock finally opened, the boarding team stepped into darkness. Their helmet lights cut through dust that hadn't been disturbed in centuries. The corridors were wide, built for a much larger crew than any modern ship required. Every wall was smooth, made of some alloy they couldn't identify. Symbols glowed faintly beneath the dust. Human letters, old and faded. Power levels are near zero, Talia reported through the comms. But the structure's intact. It's like it's been waiting. They reached what appeared to be the command deck, a vast chamber filled with dark consoles and a single raised platform in the center. As Rhea approached, the platform lit up beneath her feet. The lights were soft blue, spreading across the floor like flowing water. A voice echoed through the chamber, calm, mechanical, and unmistakably human. Human DNA confirmed. Command authority recognized. The crew froze. Rhea looked around, her voice steady despite the shock. Identify yourself. This is Sentinel-01, Central Intelligence of the Aegis Defense Vessel. Operational status, dormant for 227 years. Awaiting command input, Jonas whispered. It's real. Talia stepped closer. Captain, this AI shouldn't even be functional after so long. How? Power conservation protocols active, the AI replied as if reading her thoughts. Primary systems in stasis. Emergency beacon initiated upon human signal detection. Rhea swallowed hard. Why was the ship hidden? Mission secrecy. The Aegis project was humanity's final safeguard. Purpose to ensure survival against existential threats. The words echoed through the silent bridge. Talia whispered. It was real all along. Rhea took a deep breath. Sentinel-01, what happened to your crew? Deceased. Final engagement during Solar War. Year 2650. Orders were to preserve ship integrity and await human reactivation. The room felt colder. The crew looked around at the silent consoles, at the dust that covered everything. A ship of ghosts, waiting for centuries for someone to return. Can you restore power? Rhea asked. Affirmative. Do you authorize reactivation? Rhea hesitated. The myth had become real, but she wasn't sure humanity was ready for what this meant. Still, she couldn't leave the ship in darkness. Authorization granted, she said softly. A deep vibration ran through the floor. The walls lit up in soft blue light. Energy flowed like veins through the metal, spreading from the bridge to every corridor. Outside, the Aegis's hull began to glow faintly, as though waking from a long sleep. From the Endeavor, sensors went wild. Jonas stared at the readings in disbelief. Captain, the ship's power levels just jumped to full. It's like an entire city coming alive. Inside the Aegis, the crew watched as holographic panels activated around them. The bridge came alive. Maps, schematics, and ancient battle data flickered into view. Sentinel's voice grew clearer. Reactor online. Weapons offline. Shields at standby. Awaiting mission update. Rhea turned slowly, taking in the massive command center. This ship had slept for centuries, and now it answered to her. She didn't notice the small red light blinking on one of the displays. A long-range sensor alert. Something was moving toward them. Captain, Talia said, pointing. We've got company. Multiple warp signatures incoming. How many? Jonas checked the readings. His voice trembled. At least 50 ships. Dravic Dominion warships. Rhea's mind raced. The Dravics, one of the most hostile alien races in the known galaxy. They must have detected the Aegis's power-up signal. Sentinel's voice broke the silence once more. Incoming hostile fleet detected. Recommendation: activate defensive systems. Rhea stared out through the wide viewport at the approaching lights. The myth had awoken, but so had danger. She gave a single nod. Do it. Acknowledged. The Aegis awakens. And as the stars outside began to shift with the arrival of the enemy, the great ship that had been only a story started to hum with power once again. The legend was no longer a tale. It was alive. The stars outside the viewport shone like cold fire, silent and endless. The old ship Aegis floated in the darkness, its metal surface glowing faintly as ancient power systems came alive once again. Captain Rhea Morgan stood at the center of the command bridge. Around her, her crew worked quickly, studying the strange controls. The hum of the ship grew louder each second, as if a sleeping giant was taking its first breath in centuries. Power level steady at 90%, reported Lieutenant Jonas Park, eyes wide as he watched the readings. This ship's energy output is beyond anything in our database. It could power an entire city. Commander Talia Voss walked slowly along the bridge, touching the strange metal walls that shimmered with soft light. It feels alive, she murmured. The ship's artificial intelligence, Sentinel-01, spoke again, its voice calm and deep. Reactivation complete. Human command recognized. Defense systems on standby. Rhea turned to the glowing control platform in front of her. Sentinel, what are our surroundings? Dravic fleet approaching. Estimated arrival, 8 minutes. A cold silence fell over the bridge. The Dravic Dominion, ruthless conquerors of many human colonies, had detected the Aegis's power signature. They were coming fast and they never came to talk. Talia's hand clenched at her side. 50 ships, maybe more. We can't fight that kind of force, Captain. Rhea's gaze remained steady. No, we can't. But maybe this ship can. The bridge glowed brighter as Sentinel displayed the holographic image of the approaching armada. Red icons filled the projection, moving like a swarm toward a single blue dot, the Aegis. Enemy composition, 57 cruisers, 12 heavy destroyers, 1 command battleship. Estimated firepower exceeds any current human defense capacity. Jonas swallowed hard. And us, Sentinel? What are our defenses? Primary shield array operational, plasma lances offline, drone base inactive, system integrity at 85%. Suggest immediate activation of automated repair protocols. Do it, Rhea ordered. Panels along the walls opened with a low hiss. Swarms of small drones like silver insects floated into the air and spread through the corridors. They began repairing, cleaning, and reconnecting circuits that hadn't been touched for generations. The air felt charged, humming with energy. Rhea could almost feel the weight of history pressing down on her. She was standing where ancient heroes once stood. She was commanding the ship that had only existed in stories. She took a breath. Sentinel, can you show me the crew logs? A soft blue hologram appeared beside her, displaying names and faces of long-dead officers, the last humans who had served aboard the Aegis. One message blinked at the top. Final entry, Commander Elias Drake. Rhea opened it. The projection came to life, showing a tired man in a dark uniform. His voice echoed softly through the room. If anyone finds this, then the Aegis has done its duty. We built her not for conquest, but for survival. Humanity must endure. If she awakens again, it means the stars have forgotten who we are. Whoever commands her now, remind them. The message ended. Rhea stood silently for a moment. Then she whispered, I will. Outside, the Dravic fleet exited hyperspace in a storm of light. Massive warships spread across the void, their armor covered with glowing red symbols. The alien ships formed a wide circle, surrounding the Aegis and the small human vessel Endeavor nearby. On the lead ship, Admiral Krath of the Dravic Dominion watched the scene through his viewing screen. He was a towering creature with scaled skin and sharp golden eyes. Human signatures detected, he said, his voice rough. So they dare to enter our zone again? Destroy them both. The command echoed through the fleet. Back on the Aegis, Sentinel's warning lights flashed. Enemy fleet in attack range. Shield activation recommended. Activate shields, Rhea ordered. The hull of the Aegis lit up in bright blue light. A shimmering energy field expanded around the ship like a transparent bubble. The Endeavor stayed close behind it, using the Aegis for cover. The first wave of plasma fire hit. The impact was blinding. Hundreds of blasts striking the shield at once. The entire bridge shook and the lights flickered for a second. Jonas checked the readings. Shields holding. Energy levels stable. Talia exhaled in disbelief. That would have destroyed 10 normal ships. This thing didn't even flinch. Rhea's voice remained calm. Sentinel, can we respond? Weapon systems offline. Defensive drones available. Authorization required for combat deployment. Authorized, Rhea said. From the underbelly of the Aegis, hundreds of small silver drones shot into space. They moved like a living storm, forming patterns too fast for the eye to follow. The Dravic fleet adjusted their aim, confused by the sudden swarm. Then the drones struck. They fired focused beams of energy that cut through Dravic shields like thin paper. One enemy cruiser exploded silently, then another. Within seconds, 10 ships were gone. On the bridge, Jonas stared at the sensor readings in awe. They're learning during battle, adapting their patterns after every hit. Confirmed, Sentinel said. Aegis defense drones possess adaptive intelligence. Efficiency increases with continued engagement. Rhea's eyes narrowed. Then keep them engaged. Admiral Krath roared as his command ship shook under impact. How can one human ship do this? Increase firepower. Destroy it. The Dravic fleet opened full bombardment. Bright streams of energy lit the darkness, turning space into a storm of color. Inside the Aegis, the crew braced themselves as the ship shook violently. Warning lights blinked, but the shields held. Sentinel adjusted frequencies with every impact, recalibrating faster than the enemy could track. Talia gripped her console. "Captain, this ship's technology, it's like nothing we've ever seen." Rhea nodded slowly. "It was built by humans long ago. Maybe we've forgotten how powerful we can be." Minutes passed. The battle became a dance of light and shadow. The Aegis moved slowly, but every move was precise. Every turn predicted the enemy's next strike. Sentinel spoke again. "Primary weapons restored. Plasma lances online." Rhea stepped forward. "Target the largest enemy ship." The front of the Aegis glowed as massive cannons extended from the hull. Energy gathered at their tips, bright as a small sun. "Fire," Rhea commanded. A beam of pure white light shot across the void, cutting through the darkness. It struck the Dravik command ship straight through the center. The explosion was silent but enormous, a wave of light expanding across space. The Dravik fleet hesitated. For the first time, they realized what they were facing. Jonas whispered, "They're retreating." Indeed, several ships began turning away, jumping into hyperspace in panic. The myth they had heard from their own spies about a ghost ship that destroyed entire fleets was no longer just a tale. It was standing before them, but Rhea didn't smile. She looked at the destruction, at the bright debris drifting among the stars. "Sentinel, track all remaining ships. Make sure they can't follow us." Acknowledged. Enemy pursuit capabilities neutralized. The bridge grew quiet again. When the battle was finally over, the stars returned to stillness. The Aegis floated in silence, its shields fading back to soft light. Jonas leaned back in his seat, still shaking slightly. "Captain, we just defeated a Dravik armada." Talia nodded, still in awe. "If this ship really existed during the old wars, I understand why they called it a legend." Rhea looked out the viewport, her face calm but thoughtful. "Legends don't build themselves. Humans did. Our ancestors did. They believed we might need this ship one day." "Statement confirmed," Sentinel said. "Aegis project was designed for the preservation of humanity. Awaiting next directive." Rhea turned toward the AI console. "Our directive is survival, Sentinel. And protection. There are still colonies out there. Still people who don't even know we're being hunted." Then the mission continues. The ship's engines began to glow. Slowly, the Aegis turned toward the distant stars. The myth was now awake, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy would see what humanity's forgotten strength looked like. As the Aegis entered hyperspace, a quiet message was transmitted from its communication beacon, an old human code. "The Aegis stands ready. Humanity endures." Far away on a forgotten colony world, an old radio operator picked up that signal. He blinked in surprise, recognizing the call sign that had been silent for 200 years. He smiled. "The legend is back." And across the dark expanse of the galaxy, hope began to stir once more. The Aegis drifted through deep space, its metallic hull glowing softly like a sleeping giant beneath the stars. Inside the vast ship, every corridor hummed with quiet power. The crew of the small exploration ship Endeavour had now fully merged with the Aegis. They no longer felt like guests. They felt like a part of something greater. Captain Rhea Morgan stood at the command bridge, watching the stars slide slowly across the main viewport. The events of the last battle replayed in her mind. The blinding flashes, the destruction of the Dravik fleet, the first proof that Aegis was not just a story. It was humanity's greatest creation, born from fear, built for hope. But peace was never meant to last. Sentinel-01, the ship's calm and loyal AI, spoke in its steady tone. "Captain, long-range sensors detect increased activity along the Dravik border. Communication intercepts suggest they are assembling a counterattack fleet." Rhea didn't flinch. She had expected this. They won't stop after one loss. The Dravik Dominion doesn't forgive humiliation. Commander Talia Voss crossed her arms. "Then they'll come for us with everything they have." Rhea nodded. "And this time we'll be ready." Over the next 2 days, the crew worked tirelessly. Aegis's drones repaired every weapon system, polished the armor plates, and recharged the ancient reactors that powered the ship's heart. The humans aboard studied the advanced controls, slowly learning to work alongside Sentinel's precision. The AI guided them with patience, teaching them as if they were its original crew. Weapon control interface linked. Human neural response within expected limits. Jonas Park, the communications officer, laughed softly as he studied the glowing console. It's like this ship wants us to understand it. Sentinel replied, the Aegis was built by humans. It remembers its makers. Rhea walked among her crew, proud of their courage. None of them were soldiers. They were explorers, engineers, and scientists. Yet they were about to face one of the deadliest fleets in the galaxy. Sometimes Rhea wondered if fate had chosen them, or if Aegis itself had called them here. 3 days later, the sensors began to flicker. Jonas turned sharply.
Captain, multiple warp signatures, large ones, approaching fast.
How many? Rhea asked. He swallowed. Over 200 ships. The Dravik Armada. The bridge went silent. Even the hum of the Aegis felt heavier now. Talia's voice was low but steady. They're coming for revenge. Rhea looked out the viewport where faint ripples of light began to appear, the shimmering waves of ships dropping out of hyperspace. Sentinel, she said calmly, prepare all defense systems. Acknowledged. Shields to full power. Weapon arrays charging. Drone bays at full capacity. The great ship came alive once again, light racing along its surface like streams of electricity. Moments later, the darkness outside filled with movement. The Dravik ships appeared one by one, enormous cruisers, destroyers, and battleships. They stretched across the starfield like a wall of steel and fire. Their crimson lights glowed like eyes watching their prey. On the largest ship stood Admiral Krath, the same commander who had escaped the first battle. His scaled hands clenched into fists as he stared at the image of Aegis on his screen. So the human myth is true, he hissed. But myths can burn. He turned to his officers. Surround it. I want that ship destroyed. No survivors. Thousands of energy cannons powered up. Inside Aegis, Rhea's crew felt the vibration through the deck plates. Sentinel's voice filled the air. Enemy fleet in attack formation. Estimated time to first strike 2 minutes. Jonas looked at Rhea. Captain, we can't take on 200 ships. Rhea didn't answer immediately. She stepped forward and placed a hand on the glowing console. The ship felt warm beneath her fingers, alive, aware. She whispered, we may not need to take them all at once. To Sentinel, she said, activate stealth field. Stealth field active. Aegis will be invisible to standard detection systems. The ship shimmered, then vanished from visible sensors. The Dravik fleet fired blindly, flooding space with beams of light that hit nothing but empty void. Admiral Krath roared, find them. No human ship can disappear. But Aegis was no ordinary ship. Within the cloak of invisibility, Rhea watched the chaos. Red and blue lights danced across the blackness. She could see the Dravik ships moving nervously, searching for a target they could not see. Sentinel, she said, bring us behind their rear formation. Prepare to strike. Confirmed. Engaging silent propulsion. The Aegis glided smoothly, making no sound, no trace. It slipped behind the enemy lines like a shadow in the night. Talia's voice was quiet with awe. We're right inside their formation, and they don't even know. Rhea gave the order, her voice calm. Fire plasma lances, full power. The front cannons of Aegis glowed with blinding blue light. The beam shot outward, cutting through space like lightning. 3 massive Dravik destroyers exploded in seconds, their wreckage spinning across the void. Then 10 more fell. The Dravik fleet spun around in panic, firing in all directions. Admiral Krath shouted, track the energy signature. Find that ship. But Aegis had already vanished again, moving faster than any Dravik scanner could follow. The battle turned into chaos. Space became a storm of fire and motion. Everywhere the Draviks turned, explosions followed. It was like fighting a ghost. Inside the command bridge, Jonas smiled in disbelief. Captain, they're terrified. They think we're more than one ship. Talia checked the readings. Half their fleet is already damaged. We might actually win this. Rhea didn't celebrate. Her mind was focused. Sentinel, charge Solar Lance. Charging. Warning. Solar Lance requires 80% of total energy reserves. Use may risk temporary power loss, Rhea nodded. We'll take the risk. Target their flagship. On the Dravik command ship, alarms blared. The crew shouted warnings as a strange light appeared in the distance, a sphere of bright white energy growing rapidly. Krath stared at it, realizing too late what it meant.
Fire everything at that light,
he roared. But the light erupted before he could finish. The solar lance unleashed its full power, a wave of energy brighter than a sun. It tore through the Dravik flagship, burning through armor and shields as if they were nothing. The explosion spread outward, shaking nearby ships and ripping through entire squadrons. The center of the armada vanished in white fire. Back on the Aegis, the lights flickered. The deck trembled as energy drained through the reactors. Sentinel's voice was steady. Primary weapon discharged. Power at 60%. Enemy command ship destroyed. Jonas grinned. The flagship is gone. The rest of the fleet is falling back. On the holographic map, red icons began disappearing one by one as the Dravik ships retreated in panic. Some jumped to hyperspace. Others drifted damaged and silent. The armada that had once filled the stars was broken. Rhea stood quietly, watching the last of the enemy signals vanish. Is it over? Affirmative. No active threats detected. The bridge filled with a quiet sense of awe. For the first time in generations, humanity had not just survived, it had won. Talia turned to Rhea. You know what this means, don't you? Every human colony out there, they'll hear about this. About us, Rhea nodded. Good. They need to know the truth, that the myths were real, that humanity still has power. Sentinel added, transmission beacon active. Would you like to send a message to all human frequencies? Rhea thought for a moment. Then she said, yes, record this. She stood tall, her voice strong but calm. This is Captain Rhea Morgan of the human ship Aegis. To every colony, every settlement, every survivor, we are not alone. The stories were true. Humanity still stands and we will protect our own. The message was sent, carried across the stars. In the silence that followed, Rhea looked out the viewport again. The wreckage of the Dravik fleet floated like dark snow against the light of distant suns. Jonas broke the silence softly. Captain, we made history. Rhea gave a small smile. No, we just remembered who we are. The Aegis's engines glowed once more, preparing for the next journey. Somewhere out there, more human colonies waited in fear, unaware that hope had returned. Sentinel's final words for the day echoed through the quiet bridge. Mission complete. Awaiting next order. Rhea looked ahead at the stars and said, plot a course for the nearest human outpost. Let them know the legend lives. And as the Aegis vanished into hyperspace, the galaxy whispered once again about the ship that could not die, the myth that had become real. The stars stretched endlessly ahead of the Aegis, a sea of silver light and shadow. Inside the massive ship, the air was thick with purpose. Captain Rhea Morgan stood on the command bridge, watching holographic projections of the destroyed Dravik armada drift like silent ghosts in the void. The crew worked in quiet determination. For the first time, humanity was not fleeing from danger. They were the danger, and the galaxy would soon learn it. Lieutenant Jonas Park leaned over his console, eyes wide. Captain, this battle, it was unlike anything we've seen. That ship Aegis, it's more than a warship. It's a statement. Rhea did not turn. It's proof. Humanity built something to survive even if we forgot we could. Sentinel, give me a full systems analysis. Systems stable at 95%. All defensive arrays active. Weapons charged. Drone swarm efficiency at 98%. No signs of immediate threats? Good, she said quietly. But we need to be ready. This won't be the last time they come. Across the galaxy, word of the Aegis's victory spread like wildfire. Human colonies whispered the name in awe, a legend reborn. But in the darkest corners of the stars, alien empires spoke in fear. On the bridge of a hidden station in the Perseus sector, Admiral Krath of the Dravik Dominion gathered his commanders. His golden eyes were sharp, burning with rage. They have found the Aegis, he said in a voice like stone. They have awakened humanity's weapon. This cannot stand. We will bring every fleet to bear. Humanity will kneel again or be erased, the Dravik Council agreed. Orders went out. Every available ship to the sector of Epsilon 9, where the Aegis had first appeared. For Rhea and her crew, the war had only begun. 2 days after the battle, the Aegis approached the human outpost at Novara 7, a remote mining station on the edge of known space. The outpost was quiet, its metallic structure gleaming under a pale orange sun. Few expected anyone to arrive, no, and certainly not the ship of myth. Rhea ordered the communication channel open. This is Captain Rhea Morgan of the human ship Aegis. We bring a message for all humanity. On the station screen appeared the face of Rhea, calm but fierce. She spoke slowly, each word carrying weight. The war is not over. The Dravic Dominion will return, but we now hold the power to fight them. This ship is the last defense humanity ever built. I offer this, we unite. We stand together. Humanity must not be broken. The message spread quickly across human networks. Hope became a rallying cry. Humanity remembered itself, but not all were convinced. On the command deck of the Aegis, Talia said quietly, "Captain, this is bigger than we imagined. The galaxy will see us now. They'll come for us. Not just the Dravics," Rhea nodded. "Let them come. We won't hide anymore." 3 days later, Sentinel alerted them. Multiple fleets detected. 5 separate war groups heading toward Novara 7. Estimated combined force over 800 ships. Jonas froze. 800? Captain, we can't stand against that. Rhea's eyes narrowed. We won't stand alone. She turned to Talia. Send a priority message to every human outpost in range. Tell them to join us. We're forming a defense. The crew worked quickly. The corridors of the Aegis buzzed with preparation. Engineers repaired weapon systems. Drone factories spun up to full capacity. Scientists recalibrated shield arrays. Soldiers trained and strategized. The ship itself seemed to respond, its corridors glowing brighter with each passing hour. Sentinel spoke softly, almost as if aware of Rhea's thoughts. The Aegis was designed not for destruction alone, but for humanity's unity. Its greatest power is not its weapons, but the will of those who command it. Rhea glanced at him. Then we'll prove it. By the 4th day, the Aegis stood at the center of a human fleet unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Hundreds of ships gathered at Novara 7. Small mining ships turned into armed vessels. Exploration ships equipped with defense systems. Freighters carrying weapons and shields. Humans had answered the call. They called it the Human Defense Pact. Not just a fleet, but a promise that no human world would fall alone. Rhea stood before her crew on the bridge. Today we are not just a ship. We are humanity's shield. Sentinel, prepare full tactical engagement. Confirmed. All systems ready. Defensive protocols engaged. Outside, the stars grew alive with movement. The Dravic fleets appeared on the horizon. 3 massive war groups converging like storms. The sheer scale was overwhelming. 800 ships. Thousands of weapons pointed toward human worlds. Talia leaned over Rhea's shoulder. This is it. If we lose this, humanity loses everything. Rhea's voice was steady. We don't lose. Not while we stand together. The battle began with silence. Then came the roar. The Dravic fleets fired first. Waves of plasma energy and missile barrages lighting the void. Shields flared across the human lines, glowing against the onslaught. The Aegis moved into the center of the formation, like a living heart surrounded by vessels of flesh and metal. The ship released its first wave of drones. They moved in perfect coordination, striking enemy ships with precision beams. Entire squadrons of Dravic cruisers vanished in moments. From the bridge, Rhea gave calm commands. Focus all fire on their lead group. Protect the flank. Sentinel, keep our shield frequency shifting. Affirmative. The human fleet roared to life. Ships of all sizes moved as one, cutting through the darkness with light and noise. Explosions bloomed across the battlefield like stars being born and dying in seconds. Admiral Krath's voice rang across his command channel. Destroy them all. Leave nothing but ashes. But humanity was no longer broken. They fought with the strength of a people who had been underestimated for centuries. The battle raged for hours. The Dravic fleets pressed harder, but the human defense held. The Aegis became a beacon of strength at the center of it all, guiding every strike, every movement. Sentinel's voice filled the Aegis. Adaptive strategies engaged. Enemy efficiency dropping. Victory probability increasing. Rhea smiled faintly. Then we'll give them proof. The Aegis charged its solar lance once more. The energy swelled within its core, brighter than any star. Outside, the Dravic fleet began to falter, unable to withstand the combined fury of humanity's united front. When the solar lance fired, it was like a second sun exploding in the void. The blast cut through the largest cluster of enemy ships, scattering them in every direction. The Dravic lines broke. Retreat became the only option. For the first time in centuries, humanity had not just survived a war. They had won. The battlefield fell silent. Ships drifted among the wreckage. The stars were littered with debris, glowing softly in the dark. Humanity had proven something greater than their technology. They had proven their will. On the Aegis bridge, Rhea stood tall. Talia looked at her, eyes shining with pride. "We did it." "No," Rhea said quietly, looking out into the void. "We just remembered who we are." Sentinel spoke softly. "Humanity's hidden power is not in weapons, but in unity. The Aegis has fulfilled its purpose once again." Rhea turned. "Then we make sure it never sleeps again." The stars seemed to respond, brightening as if in agreement. Humanity was no longer the hunted. They had found their hidden power, and the galaxy would remember it forever. The galaxy was no longer the same. The legend of the Aegis had spread across star systems. Humanity had risen from scattered colonies to a united force. But with victory came new challenges, unrespect, fear, and the heavy responsibility of survival. The Aegis floated silently near Novara 7, now the rally point of the Human Defense Pact. Ships from dozens of colonies gathered there, forming a fleet unlike any before. Warships, explorers, freighters, all answered the call of Captain Rhea Morgan and the ghost ship that had become a symbol of humanity's strength. On the bridge of the Aegis, Rhea studied the projection of the galaxy. Red dots marked Dravik fleet still gathering far away. Even after their defeat, the Draviks were not gone. Lieutenant Jonas Park broke the silence. "Captain, they're not just rebuilding. They're preparing another attack larger than the last." Talia Voss frowned. "Then we need to be ready, and we can't rely on the Aegis alone." Rhea's eyes were steady. "That's why we unite. The galaxy must see that humanity will never be destroyed again." For the next week, the human fleet prepared. The Aegis became more than a ship. It became the heart of human defense. Its corridors filled with engineers, strategists, and soldiers training together. Sentinel-01 worked alongside them, teaching, adapting, and strengthening the ship's systems. Sentinel spoke softly to Rhea one evening. "Captain, humanity is at a crossroads. The Aegis can be a shield or a symbol. What do you intend it to be?" Rhea looked out the viewport at the stars. "A reminder that humanity once believed in myths, that myths can be real, and that we are stronger when we stand together." The calm did not last. Scouts brought reports of massive movement in the Dravik Dominion. Entire fleets were mobilizing, far larger than before. Intelligence suggested they were heading toward the human core worlds, intending to destroy them before humanity could strengthen its defenses. The news spread quickly through the Human Defense Pact. In every colony, the people prepared. Shipyards worked day and night. Citizens volunteered. Old war veterans joined fleets, and the Aegis prepared to lead them. Rhea stood on the command bridge before the fleet assembled. Her voice echoed over the communication channels. "This is no longer just a battle for survival. It is a battle for the future of humanity. Today we show the galaxy what we are. We fight not for conquest, but for the right to exist. The Aegis stands with you." Her words echoed through ships in thousands of worlds. Hope became a call to arms. The Dravik fleets arrived faster than expected. Across the void, their numbers filled space like a living shadow. The human fleet braced, weapons ready. The battle would decide the future of humanity itself. On the Aegis bridge, Sentinel reported. Enemy approach confirmed. Estimated strength, 1,200 ships. Probability of victory without total coordination, 23%. Jonas's hand trembled slightly. "Captain, 1,200 ships," Rhea's voice was steady. "They will have to face more than ships. They will face humanity united." The battle began with a flash of light. Energy beams lit the darkness as warships clashed across light years of space. Explosions bloomed in silence. The Aegis moved at the center of it all, its shield glowing brighter than any star. Talia shouted commands across the bridge. "All flanks hold. Keep the drones in formation." The drone swarms erupted into space like silver storms, striking Dravik warships with deadly precision. The human fleet moved in perfect harmony, each ship protecting another, striking as one force. Sentinel's voice was calm but firm. "Tactical analysis indicates the enemy fleet is fracturing. Recommend concentrated assault on lead squadrons," Rhea nodded. "Do it." The Aegis fired its solar lance again, the beam brighter than a newborn sun. It cut through the largest group of Dravik vessels, scattering them into drifting wreckage. The shockwave rippled across the battlefield. breaking enemy formations and giving humanity a chance to press forward. Jonas grinned in disbelief. "Captain, we're doing it." Rhea's gaze did not waver. "We're surviving. That's what matters." For hours the battle raged. The Aegis led wave after wave of attack, each strike pushing the enemy back. Sentinel adapted instantly, rerouting power, shifting shield frequencies, coordinating attacks. Humanity was fighting not just with weapons but with determination. Talia turned to Rhea during a moment of calm. "They'll never forget this day. Humanity will become a force in the galaxy." Rhea's voice was quiet. "Let them remember it. But we must also remember why we fight." As the battle reached its climax, the Dravic forces began to retreat. Their numbers shattered, their will broken. They slipped into hyperspace, leaving the battlefield in silence. The human fleet, battered but alive, held its position. The Aegis stood at the center, its lights glowing softly in the void. Humanity had won again, not through a single act of destruction, but through unity and resolve. On the command bridge, Rhea stood tall. "This is not the end, but it is proof. Proof that we are not helpless, that humanity has power beyond myths." Sentinel spoke softly. "Captain, humanity has become more than a story. It is now a living legend." Rhea turned toward her crew. "Then let's make sure the galaxy hears it." The next day, the Aegis sent a message to every human colony. Her words were simple but carried across light years. "The myth is real. Humanity stands united. We are no longer scattered worlds when we are one people, and we will defend each other always." The signal spread quickly, a new hope lighting every human world. Somewhere in the dark expanse of space, a child listening to the broadcast whispered to themselves, "The Aegis is real," and the legend lived on. Months later, the Aegis remained at the heart of the human fleet. Captain Rhea Morgan stood on the bridge once more, watching the stars. Jonas came beside her. "Captain, will we ever stop fighting?" Rhea smiled faintly. "Maybe not. But we will always remember why we fight. For our homes, for our people, for the future." Talia joined them quietly. "And for the myth that became real." Rhea nodded. "Yes, and we make sure it never fades." The Aegis moved forward into the depths of space, carrying humanity's promise. A ship of legend, leading a united people into the unknown. And across the galaxy, whispers began once again. That humanity had awakened its hidden power, and that the myth of the Aegis would never die.